Sometimes I sit back and wonder what it all means. What seems to be my greatest weakness, along with pride and self-esteem, cause I look too deep.
But what do you think about when, especially white people, say something like, say you're giving feedback for a project or note, and it's about something Black centered, that's a problem, and they're like, well, it wasn't a bump for me.
I've been in a situation where, like, white people okay, so I was in this writers group and we were reading a script. And this guy had a comedy script and it was really funny. And then there's this random scene in the script where he gets pulled over by the police and basically racially profiled in front of his son who's in the back seat. And it adds there's no point of it. Like, it connects to nothing else. And I was like, this really dragged down the script. I don't understand why you have this. Like, we know Black people are racially profiled. I don't need to see it again, especially it has no bearing on what, it's just pointless. Like, and it's a comedy script and it just dragged everything down. Like, why did you add this? And he was like, oh, it's funny you say that. And everyone, it was a Black writers group, so everyone in the group was like, yeah, I didn't like that. He's like, well, it's funny you say that. Like, I didn't have that scene, but I was taking a writing class with this white dude, and he told me that my script, it needed more to reflect the Black experience. So he thinks that I add that scene in to show. I'm like, what? And so we all just started laughing, and I'm like, no. I think the problem is that we shouldn't be trying to define the Black experience. We all have different experiences, and there's the problem is that we're trying to make one person the voice of all Black people. Like, that's no one's mantle to because I didn't vote for you to be my voice. Like,
right.
You might represent that type of Black person, and good for you, but don't proclaim yourself to be savior of Black people. And like, that's my problem with a lot of this content, is that it is off and it's not representative, but the people making this content act like it's representative of all people. And like, I shared an article with Elon and Jasmine like last week, but it was basically saying how in the 90s we had a plethora of Black shows. Like, I grew up watching shows like, Sister Sister, Moesha, Wayans Brothers, Martin, Parenthood, that one with LL Cool J, I forget, In the House, like Fresh Prince. And all of those shows were completely different and had different types of characters, different types of families, and none of them, they were all authentically Black, but none of them were like, I'm Black. Black person is like Black. Like, it was just like, Black. You don't need to keep saying it every line. You don't need to name your show Black Family. Like, we know.
Okay.
We know you're Black, we can see. And so I think that's the problem, is that we've regressed into this place where when I was a kid, I could see Blackness represented in an authentic myriad of ways, and it wasn't one person trying to claim to be the voice of Black people. But now I feel like there's much, even though we claim to be so diverse, there's much less Black shows, a lot less. And I feel like the ones that are out are all trying to push like some narrative of like, this is how Black people act, which is not true. Like, you might act like that, but that's not how I act. So please don't speak for me and pretend that all Black people act like this. Just, that's your show and that's fine. But stop trying to make it like the standard of Blackness.
Yeah, I think that's all that I totally agree with. I think the Obama effect and reality television kind of destroyed those like that variety that we once had. I feel like to be honest, Hollywood has typically been very conservative in how it moves. It's always the last. Art is always kind of ahead of the game, and then there's music and all of that. But Hollywood is always last at the table. And that's because you got a lot of the same people running the show. And for a while, like me growing up and watching in junior high school, I mean, I remember like after seeing Martin and Living Single and New York Undercover, we would come to school and just talk about everything. Like, oh my God, did you see blah, 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 you know? And, you know, we were that television generation that we sat around and we watched TV all the time. I think what has transpired as of late is this one at a time bullshit that gets on my nerves, where you have one black that's going to write all the shows, and then and one black that's going to do all the movies. So everything is under their taste, under their perspective, you know. And we had a variety, like all the people that you mentioned. And I just feel like, you know, once reality television came around and kind of cheapened the value of storytelling in a way, and no, you know, shade to anybody that has definitely benefited from that route. But I noticed that Hollywood kind of took like, oh, they're being taken care of over there, so we don't have to focus on providing opportunities to them anymore because they're over there working for pennies for doing reality television, telling their stories. We'll continue on doing what we were doing, business as usual. And I think that's what started to hurt us. And so you started to see a lot of those people that used to once have a seat at the table, you know, a lot of their programming was being challenged with, oh, another housewife, another, you know, Love and Hip Hop, another, let's give Keisha Cole a show, let's give Fantasia a show, let's give Monica a show, let's give, you know, and we were putting our attention on that, and we lost our interest in the sitcoms, in the, you know, the single cam, you know, comedies or whatever. And so that ended up being the thing that they started to see, oh, they're here. And so, and yeah, I just feel like we now have to do a better job of creating the content and not caring about, well, am I falling in line with what the current trend is right now?